I want to invite my friend up here in a moment as we talking about Missions Emphasis Month and talking about being bold and what that looks like. And we have Tracy with us today. She's going to come and share with you guys in a moment, but this is a brief summary of what her ministry holds. So I want you guys to go ahead and turn your attentions to the screens.
Hi, my name is Tracy Murry, and I'm the founder of the Recyclo Craftz ministry in Lusaka, Zambia. From 2007 to 2011, I lived in the city of Lusaka. I learned to love and care for my national pastor and his wife, and in 2008, I felt God calling me to start a ministry to empower women, men, and youth who are widowed, unemployed, and orphaned to make fair trade items, primarily from upcycled materials. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says that God can make new creations out of old things, and that's what we do at the Recyclo Craftz ministry. The men, women, and youth that I work with make purses and jewelry and aprons and paper bowls and other crafts, primarily from upcycled materials. They're exported and sold in the States. But there's more to the Recyclo Craftz ministry. For me, I'm a homeschooling mom. I have 8 children. I homeschooled for 30 years. I love to see people learn. I'm an occupational therapist by profession, and I love to meet the needs of people all around the world. There are so many aspects of the Recyclo Craftz ministry. When I have just a moment, I say it's a fair trade, vocational training, literacy development, discipleship ministry. And that encompasses just a small fraction of what we do to make an educational, economic, and eternal difference in Zambia.
So this is my friend Tracy. Everybody say hi, Tracy. So Tracy is here today, and she's going to share with us a little bit more about her ministry. But I wanted for her to talk to you guys today about this aspect of bold and what it really looks like in our lives to move forward when God has called us to do really hard things. And I want to give Tracy another 30 seconds right now to just kind of share something about your life that maybe wasn't in the video so we can get to know you a little bit better.
Sure. I grew up in Maryland. I didn't grow up in a Christian home, and my parents used to say, if you failed at anything, if you couldn't manage to do anything well, you could be a teacher. And if you couldn't manage to be a teacher, you could be a missionary. And so that's kind of what I heard growing up. I'm an occupational therapist. As it says, my dad wanted me to go to Towson in Baltimore, which I did not want to do. There was an excellent program in Elizabethtown College. And so he said, if you leave the state to go to school, you'll pay for your education. And I made a bold step to say, I believe that God is calling me to be in Lancaster County. So I went to school here and lived for about 20 years in Lancaster, so it's good to be home.
When God called you to start this ministry, what were some of the things that you kind of felt like were hesitations for you, or you looked at and and we saw that David, when he was faced with this giant in front of him, he didn't hesitate, but often we do. It's a rare thing what David did. But were there hesitations for you when it came to God saying, hey, Tracy, I want you to do this. I want you to take this step of faith and go and do what I've called you to do?
Yeah. I was fascinated by missionary stories. As I said, I have 8 children. I homeschooled for 30 years. And I loved reading missionary stories because they were amazing and encouraging. And so I read them to the children all the time. And so I thought, when I'm done raising all these children, I'll go on the mission field. But God had different plans. So in 2007, I moved to Zambia with 7 of my 8 children. And I was married to a pastor at the time. But so we went there. I had no intentions of starting a ministry myself. I was working with the kids at church, the Awana. So if the kids went to Bible club, they could come to our house. And I had all the Duplos and Brios and Lincoln Logs and puzzles and learning games and a library. And it was like a learning center for the kids. And then somebody says, you could start a handbag ministry. And I was like, no. I don't want to work with women. They're messy. But God sent me into the compounds, into the slums. The poorest of the poor live in the compounds, and I just knew that was where my heart was really called. And so that was this month is our 18th year of ministry in Zambia. And not only do we work with the Recyclo Craftz women that's just 1/7 of the ministry that we do. God gave me back those children, and so we have an educational enrichment and literacy development center. I have 7 teachers, and we have about 350 kids that come through every week for free tutoring, free puzzles, learning games. We have a circulating library. We have a pastor's library. And then we help with medical care, nutrition, microfinance, secure housing, and discipleship.
Amen. What were some of the things that you recognized when God was saying, all right, here, I want you to go, that you saw you could look back at, that he has prepared you for this ministry, that he's made it so you weren't just sitting there going, you know, I'm not ready for this at all, but he gave you these breadcrumbs of encouragement, is like what I like to call them, that he said, look, I've done this, so that way you can do this.
Right. So 10 years before, 10 years before I even began to think about going overseas, God gave me the verse from Jeremiah 29:11 to 13 that says, I know the plans I have for you, and they're plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a future and a hope. Call on me and draw near to me, and I will be there close to you. And 10 years later, he took me through 5 Job years. I was married to a pastor, and he left full-time pastoral ministry, and so we were making like almost no money he was a drywall finisher. And then he fell and broke his leg, and he didn't walk for 9 months. And then he was sued for something that he didn't do, but it was going to cost more to prove that he didn't do it than to pay the fines. And then our house burned down in Lidditz 2 weeks before Christmas. We were on the front page of everybody's Christmas project that year in a 13-hour fire. And then we were in a car accident with 6 kids. And during all this, I had 4 miscarriages. And God knew the plans that he had, and they were good plans to prosper me and not harm me. And so when we went to Zambia, I was now ministering to these women, and I could say, I know what it means to not know where the next money is going to come from. I know what it means to have dead babies. I know what it means to lose everything you have, and I understand what it means to get out of an abusive marriage. And so they said, I think you're Zambian on the inside. And so God used those things in my life that I would rather have not gone through, but he used them to conform me into the image of Jesus Christ.
Mm. So when it comes to, like, you know, you had the recognition of how he's prepared you, what promises did you lean on when it came to taking that next step in your walk?
Yeah. There was a woman named Linda Mitty in the ministry in the very beginning, and from Zechariah 4:10, she said, don't despise the days of small beginnings, because the Lord rejoices to see a work begun. And I still think, here we are 18 years in, I'm still thinking, we're still small. These are still small beginnings. I believe that God is going to do great and mighty things beyond what he's even doing now. But that verse, I used to put it up on the wall all the time, so it was my encouragement. Don't despise those days of small beginning. God's doing something.
Yeah, it sounds like he is, with all those extra ministries that you have in there. Well, you know, if you were to ask us, like, if you had a big ask, you know, there's if you guys didn't notice when you first came in, there's like a whole storefront out in the family room right now. My ask for you is to go and do some Christmas shopping after this and support the ministry and buy some of those things. And then obviously to pray for Tracy, to pray for this ministry. But if you had another big ask of us, how could we come alongside of the work that the Lord's doing in your life?
Yeah, I would love for you to come visit. It's amazing. Zambia is a safe place. It's been at peace since 1964. I live only 15 minutes from the airport. No, I don't have elephants in my front yard. I work in the capital city. But it's amazing. It's transformational. The people in Zambia are amazing. So it would be a great encouragement to have a mission trip to Zambia. That would be one thing. But then even just financial support. I never intended the ministry to get this big, but God had different plans. And so when I moved back to Zambia full-time in 2022, I raised support for me and one other salary, and I now have 15 staff members. So God keeps providing each month for the bills that we have, but, you know, give up a cup of Starbucks coffee and send it to Zambia, you know, whether that's $5 or $15 or $25 or $105. You can give online. I've got a bunch of promotional materials. Follow us, pray for sure. The battle is not easy. Amen. But God is good and faithful, and yeah, that's the ask.
Awesome. You guys need to go and check out that after the gathering today, and like I said, support that ministry and sign up to help pray for and be a part of. And And I would challenge you, think through right now, would the Lord lay on your heart to take that bold step to support Tracy as a family and to come alongside that ministry? Just see what the Lord has to say to your heart there. So thank you.
Thank you.